Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to episode 105, the one where we are going to talk to Marc Laithwaite. Let's not lie, we haven't actually talked to him yet, but we're doing that tomorrow. But we
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Otherwise, we'll be re-recording this again. This is the Run to the Hills podcast, sponsored by Chia Charge. Chia Charge make nutritious, tasty, and easily digestible flapjacks and nut butters, including a delicious vegan range. Go and check them out at www.chiacharge.co.uk. I interrupted myself doing the intro by saying we are talking to Marc Laithwaite of the Lakeland 1500 this week. We haven't done it yet, but we're going to ask him all about the ballot, and hopefully it will inspire maybe a couple of people. If you're on the fence to do that race, listen back to Gary, or maybe not, but maybe he'll sell it to you a little bit better. But for us, it's a tough race, but if you want one with the best atmosphere, could be the one for you. Anyway, I Twitter... Gary, you're the first adult I've spoken to today.
Oh, wow. No pressure.
Good. This is nice. I did just tell him I had limited patience for this sort of chat. Let's get a move on. I've only shouted I shouted at my kids so much today that I've got a bit of a sore throat. I've had zero childcare help. I mean, zero. I've not had one iota of help apart from my husband, but he doesn't count. Right, let's go. What are you doing? Oh, I watched your vlog. The vlog. I love the vlog, Gary. I mean, I talk to you more than anybody every week. I love to vlog. Oh my God, I want to give you a little...
Oh, you're not just blowing smoke in my ass, because that's...
Would I do that, Gary? I think we both know that he doesn't do that. No, I loved it. Oh, I just loved it. Oh, Rexy!
Little Rex.
How long did it take you to make?
You know what? Out of all of the things I have produced for YouTube, this was probably the easiest thing to do. So, yeah, and I quite enjoyed it. And YouTube is the judge. You know, if literally 20 people watch it, then I'll feel I'm quite a sensitive person. So that will not sit well with me. But as the production and everything like that, yeah, it was good. I am kind of thinking, well, you're going to run out of ideas quick. How many times does somebody want to see you put your shoes on and stuff like that?
Honestly, you know me. I told you I'm an avid vlogger. I love all that stuff. What I thought was amazing was your confidence. I was like, Gary has come such a long way since our first initial little chat. And there you are standing there being a real live... what are they called? Influencer.
Oh, goodness, mate. Yeah. But it's quite weird. And I live in a small mining village, which is probably, it's safe to say it's kind of classed as a depressed area. And to have this 50-year-old white man running around with a GoPro talking to it is quite unusual.
I loved all the scenery. And the music.
See, that was my cinematic eye. But hopefully... that was like pre-vlog. As training progresses, maybe like races start and things like that, then it might get a bit more interesting. I need to improve my storytelling skills, because I think if you're a vlogger, it's quite important that people invest in you and your journey. So if I can...
Yeah, don't be scared to chat to camera, piece to camera. Is that what it's called?
I don't think I'll be rocking up at, say, a parkrun or cross country with the GoPro, though. That's a bit of a... I don't want to be that guy with the GoPro.
What else? You are that guy.
But yeah, I'm named in the Lakeland 100 vlog, and I'll be talking to Marc later on. So fingers crossed, I do get in, and I don't have to kind of rebrand it straight away. But technically, this is the Tour de Helvellyn vlog, because that is the end of this training block. What else? Yeah, a bit more running, which is good. And the quality of food has been awesome too. Esme smashed the GCSEs.
How did she get the results? Is it like in an envelope, or did she go into school?
She went to school, yeah. She went to school to get it.
Did you go with her, or did you just wait for the... No,
I was at work, so Lisa went with her. So she did super, super good. So yeah, that's all system go for the next chapter. You know, she has got a query on an RE. It was an A. She'll got an A in RE, my goodness me, but she was like 3 marks under the A star. So she wants a recount. She's so competitive. So we'll see how that. The teacher was trying to put her off. She said, "Oh, there's probably more of a chance it'll go down." And I just don't think they could be bothered to do it. So we'll see if she's got energy to pursue that. And today is the first day of the training. And I crushed 3 workouts today. Well, one was a dog walk. Core.
Your Strava activity has been already noticed by my eldest.
And then I did that. What was good, I said previously that maybe there's going to be a lot less running with Rex because of the time, basically the effort. So I was supposed to do an easy run today, like 40 minutes or something like that. And that, easy runs for me and recovery runs, I don't care if it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, as long as it doesn't go over an hour, I think that's probably fine. But the heart rate, maybe this is a reflection on the fact I've not ran for 5 weeks, but it didn't.
7.5.
Yeah. So running with Rex, I could still take the heart rate zone I was supposed to be in. So that was quite good. So
I'm glad when you said that before about, I'm not sure, because I think like the joy of running with your dogs, like I always take that as like, even though for me it's a lot of stop starting and a lot of slightly heart rate spikes of, my God, what is Lindy doing around the corner? They annoy me, and they make like route choices sometimes a bit tricky and things. But then the joy of actually being with them, I wouldn't take that away. I prefer to run with them than not. And couldn't, at the end of the day, couldn't really care less about if the heart rate is 5 beats lower. I never take them for a workout because
I have dragged Rex on a 20-minute threshold run once, and I was really worried that how this was going to go. But as soon as we started running fast, he just never stopped.
Of course he didn't. He's Rexy. King Rex.
So that has been a pretty eventful full week. So that's me. What about yourself? Good week, bad week?
Busy week, but I was having a little bit of a knockdown week, done 2 quite big weeks. And so I was having a little knockdown week with the same volume of hours, but a bit more biking. So just did my bikes, catching up on my vlogs, Gary catching up on my vlogs, on my influencers. And I did my first hill workout since February. A spicy little 6x3 minutes. I actually did 7 because I was really nervous about how the ankle would feel at pace. And so the first one, I was so tentative, I felt that I couldn't really call that an effort. So I was like, I told myself that it was. And then when I got to the end, I was like, I really feel that I now know what that effort feels like, and that first one I can't count.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the sort of person I am. So I actually did 7, but I felt really good. And then and I did another moderate paced run. Find them quite found it quite comfortable. I was like, but I'm really like, I'm really trying to hold back on these runs. I'm like wanting to go hard. Like we all want to, like, there's another, I could work harder, but I'm just holding back. And I was like, I don't find this quite hard. And then I think back, God, all winter, I was doing 3 hours on my skis at that heart rate. So I'm like, I've still got all that winter massive training in my body, and it's all just
How was your ankle? Sorry, I never asked how was your ankle.
My ankle is, well, I've just been to the chiropractor. I was moaning to you, wasn't I? Because the ankle it's still swelling up a bit, of the little bit around the ankle, but there's a lot down to poor management by the athlete at the other end of the ankle. I need to keep icing it and need to keep doing my mobility work. I just been to the chiropractor, who is Australian. I think I've talked about him on the podcast before. I mean, there was sweat dripping from my armpit, like drops of sweat down my arm because of the pain. My knee has got a bit sticky, and then he like puts all his weight down through the kneecap to release it.
Oh, no, that's not good.
I do struggle with my knees with the skiing and everything, and I know it's coming, and he's like, okay, take a deep breath, and I'm like, this is like, must be like what it feels like to have your head chopped off. So bad. But anyway, I feel so much better. I've got to keep going with the icing, and I've got to stretch the quad. The quad is really tight. Maintenance, Eddie, maintenance, come on. But then the kids were like, let's go and play. I sent you a lovely video, the kids in the waterfalls. So like, go and play in the waterfalls. I was like, this is great. Dog walk. And I stood in the ice cold water for half an hour. And I'll go and do that again. I found a way into the ice pools now rather than over the slippery rocks. So the kids just jump all around. I'm like, what? How do you do that? How do you make your knees and bend like that? Oh, I'm such an old lady. I had a long run to do on Sunday. And, I did, Gary.
Go on then.
I slept in.
I love it. Deliberately, though, it was a decision, or you just
set my alarm for 6, and I just had a really bad night's sleep. A couple of wake ups by kids, which doesn't happen very much nowadays. The kids are a bit older, and I just slept so badly. And then we all sort of, anyway, we went back to sleep. I woke up at 9:10. 9:10. Kids were like still asleep. This is the first, like, for people that have younger kids, because my kids are younger than Gary's, that is the most latest lie-in I've had for the past 11 years. And so I'd lost my slot, really. Bryn was like, you go. But I was like, oh, I feel bad. Like, I'm going to, family day.
Yeah.
So do you know what we did? We chucked the kids in front of the TV and said, we'll be back in 45 minutes. And we went for a run together. Just
awesome.
like the came home for pancakes, and we had a nice family day. And actually, I had so much to do. I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep that one bank, because they go back to school on Thursday, and then I can run along until my heart's content. I ticked off my session, so it's good. Now, and now I just got to repeat. So I've given myself like a 20 weeks, 19 weeks now to the spine, and I want to do that moderate training session. I'll obviously tinker it according to the week, and the hill session. Those are going to be my 2 key sessions. They work for me. They work for where I am, because you always got to work with what you got, haven't you? Yeah. There's no point trying to do a session so I do it all by heart rate, because I can't. There's no pace guaranteed around here. They work for me. So I'm happy. I'm on the road. It's
good that you give yourself a bit of grace, not doing the long run.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm old enough and ugly enough now, but, life has got to. And if you decide not to do it, you've got to just then make the decision and live with it, and go and lie by the lake and go paddleboarding with the kids.
Eat pancakes.
Gary, I had just got a notification on my phone saying your screen time is up 72% this week from last week. Because
vlogging you've been watching.
All the vlogging, but I was obsessed with the UTMB coverage. I was watching it. Okay, that might be why I had really bad sleep too. I was watching it. I just was like,
they do a good job, don't they?
How is it interesting?
Well, they're doing what we love. That's the thing.
Watching people suffering so bad, and I feel like I don't want to watch it. It's like car crash TV, but you can't not look at it.
Oh, it's so addictive though. And just those trails, my goodness, mate. You were saying about the kids moving over the rocks and stuff. I just saw some people flying down trails and jumping over rocks. Killian, and I was thinking, how's he moving like that over that terrain?
Killian, where do we start with talking? What was it? Do you've got a highlight of the performers or anybody that you thought you like?
Well, for me, the man crush continues. Tom Evans, he's my, the year Tom's had, literally from
rubbish.
And he shared it all. If you follow Tom on social media, you'll see all the rehab from literally starting, picking up a kind of Red Bull, just that was the weight he was using, to absolutely smashing it, UTMB. Yeah, I know Jim faded, and that maybe helped how things panned out, but you just got to put yourself on the line and get to the finish. And yeah, 20 hours and 34 minutes. So it's not like it was handed to him. He worked for that. So that was my highlight. Yourself?
Well, I just love Katie Scheid, and I'm a bit sad because now she's like, everybody knows her, but I've loved her for years. Love her and her boyfriend, and I followed them on Instagram, and I've seen them at races, and I have a huge crush on both of them. and they ski in the winter, and she really committed to learn how to ski race. I love all that. She's a massive introvert, and then I loved watching her finish, and she was just like, this is a lot of people. Yeah. I loved the way she went out hard. Why did no other women go out hard with her? I was like, where is it? Like it's a really hard. Okay, can I get my bandwagon? 2 minutes. It's bandwagon. Yeah. There's 271 women in a race of 1,700 competitors. So you got a really good men's race with loads of them running in a group together at the top. Yeah. At the top for the first 20, 30K, where it's really runnable and it's really fast. And then you've got the women who are spread out straight away. So it's a completely different race, because she went out hard. And she's on Strava if you want to look at her splits. She was super brave, and she went out hard all by herself, and she was pretty much by herself for the majority of the race until Marianne came along too. And there were just not the quantity. It's like a different race for the women because they are on their own. They are spread out so much more from the gun. But so I loved watching her, and I loved watching Marianne Logan, who came second, the French Canadian, who also came third at Western States, and then so I thought I'll have a little look at her Strava. I bet she's on Strava to see what she did. Let's see what she did between Western States. Let's see what her average week has. I regretted that move. A couple of weeks of 38 hours running, plus 12 hours biking, a couple of weeks.
Wowzers.
Oh my God.
I think if I hit 20, I'm doing really well.
Oh my God, I'm like, these people are insane. Anyway, I'll read the women's results for UTMB. We're only talking about UTMB. I know there's CCC and OCC as well, but we've got lots of other races to talk about too. So Katie Scheid came first, Marianne Logan second, and Caitlin Gerben, who we didn't see much of on the coverage, came in a very brave third as well. And you've got the guys' results.
Yeah, record-breaking time, just under 20 hours, 19:49. Awesome result, but I love the fact that he's just like all of us said, he sandbagging before a big race, sandbags it and then goes and smashes it. That's, we've all been guilty of that.
I felt really bad of my COVID, but I did spread it all around the valley. I'm gonna spread it to everybody.
Yeah, that was super interesting, actually. When I felt poorly from COVID, I just don't think
you struggled with an hour conversation with me.
Yeah, I chatted to COVID, and my goodness me, the thought of being on the start line the next day that would not have went well for me. But then Matthew Blanchard again, sub 20 hours, so two guys under 20 hours there. Then Tom, third place, and Jim, unfortunately, his check bounce. I think it was about 130k. That's quite mean of me to say that his check bounce. I don't know the full details of it, but about 130k.
Why was he in all that full black thermals? He must have been absolutely boiling.
But he had leg tights on and everything.
I put tights on the other day because it looked chilly outside, and oh my God, I regretted it. I was sweating in places you shouldn't be sweating. I was like, why have you put... It was cold enough for a jacket, definitely overnight, but the conditions really were pretty perfect. Anyway, we don't know. We're just chatting about it. We have no professional... See him turn himself inside out and commit. Huge kudos. We like that sort of thing on the podcast. Almost been on this podcast.
And it wouldn't have been much fun, literally being first and then shipping 3 places at that point in the race. But to keep going, Do you watch my little reel that I found of Tom Evans passing him on the last climb? Yeah.
Oh, did that just heart emoji. I put out on Facebook, anybody that did any of these races and wanted a shout out. I did put it out a bit late, so I know there's going to be loads of people that are going to then put it on and say, I'm sorry, I've already done it. But do you want me to, shall I read them out? You post. Here we go. All comments, not just top comments. Okay, here we go. If you were doing UTMB, CCC, OCC, listen carefully, you might be mentioned by our sweet, sweet voices. The amazing Andy Stevenson completed the UTMB. Also, Superwoman Heidi Lewis finished the OCC. Proud to know these two. That's from Jamie Salby Seal. Rebecca Parker says, my partner Lee Dunstall crossed the line of the CCC in just under 24 hours. He appeared on the Run to the Hills, episode 10 with the late, great John. It was the most amazing experience to be out in Chamonix for the week, and to see him cross the line was a very proud moment, particularly as he broke his shoulder just 6 weeks earlier while both taking part in Snowdon 24. I highly recommend the UTMB race. It was like Disneyland for runners. That might be good. People might love it or they hate it. Jonathan Jameson. Oh, another shout out for Andy Stevenson. This was his 4th attempt. Do you know who's coached him through to get his 4th attempt? Focus training from Kim Cavell. Oh, there we go. Another friend of the show. Absolutely smashed it. Zoe Norman. Zoe, you've come up trumps here. She's given me a look. Stuart Malolan for CCC, Spencer Milbury for OCC, Bethan Mail for CCC, Anna Troop for UTMB, Richard Stillian for TDS, Oliver Jones for CCC, Lee Dunstall for CCC, Stephen Cousins for TDS, Elliot Haynes for OCC. That just says that's just off the top of her head. Holly Rush for TDS as well. Rachel Foster. Yes, I watched Rachel. Wow, she had a great UTMB. And wrong, Elliot Haynes. She's had someone on. That's all we've got. Sorry then if you put it in, we've already recorded. But if you were
Dear Beals, my roommate for London Marathon, he was there. UTMB
finisher.
Yeah, and he was at Lakeland 100 too a few weeks ago. He DNF'd that. He was recovering from COVID, and he made the sensible decision not to save himself for UTMB, and he got through UTMB. Awesome.
If you were there, we haven't read your result out, and you finished, or you had an experience, let's call it. We're not going to talk about it anymore, but well done, good job. You can all go home now and let me be able to drive around my valley.
It did look awesome. My goodness me, serious form there.
Serious for one day, Gary. Other massive races. We had some other massive races that didn't take up much of my screen time. We had comrades going on. Former guest of the show, Carla Maliano, finished in 7 hours, 5 minutes. I think she was a bit disappointed with that, but still amazing. Got a bronze medal, finished in 13th place. And Ant Clark, who I was on the England team with 6 years ago, lovely guy, loveliest guy, finished in 5:59. He is a workhorse. Follow him on Strava. Oh my gosh, he puts the work in. And he was delighted to finish, I think he was top Brit and 20th place. And they were the only Brits to finish in the top 50. That's from fast running. And then also, oh God, I've got so much. We had, do you want to read about the Leeds-Liverpool Canal race? Otherwise I'll read.
Yeah, Leeds-Liverpool Canal. We mentioned it last week. Ian Hammett took the win, 21 hours and 3 minutes. That's 9:42-minute miling over. Oh goodness, how many miles was it? 130 miles.
This is you. This time next year, we'll be reading a result.
Oh no! Lakeland 100, please. And then Laura Watts took the win for the ladies, 28 hours and 35 minutes. And again, that's 13, just over 30-minute miling. But actually, under 10-minute miling for all that way. That is awesome running.
Well, it's including, checkpoint stops, loop stops as well. So it's faster than that. Ian, what a ledge. We also had the World 100K team competition. Strong ladies out there. Jo Murphy finished in 14th, Caroline Turner in 15th, and Amy Sarkis, who took 5 minutes off her PB, and they finished 5th overall in the world. Same position by the men, with Gareth King finishing in 9th, Matthew Dickinson in 26th, and Ollie Garrett in 36th. Good work, guys. Amazing. Hard to perform on the world stage often. So that's really good. A really good performance by the British team as well. Loads of amazing racing I had.
What a week. I completely forgot Comrade was going on. That's how much UTMB was taking up my bandwidth.
And I've been bad mouthing it as well, and then I was absolutely obsessed with it and couldn't stop watching. Just love the stories. Just want to be there, man. Just want to be there. Right.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be going for it next year? Oh no, sorry, next year, but maybe the year after.
Well, I need to work out my journey, don't I? I need to do the spine. That's all the eggs in that basket. I will make no plans. Everything goes into that, because I think that's really important, that there's nothing else. I can't bow out going, it's okay, I'll go and do UTMB. And I can tell myself that I never need to run another step. If I will have that conversation, I'm pretty sure, many times. So I'm going to make no other plans for next year apart from do the spine and get fat. Hopefully in that order,
UTMB.
not the other order. Let's chat to Mark. Here we go. As I said at the beginning, we won't talk to him yet, but we're going to ask him all about the ballot. We're going to talk to him about why Lakeland, everyone loves Lakeland, especially Gary from the podcast, and about his journey, where Lakeland's come from and where it's going to go to. So here's our chat with Mark. Hello, Mark. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
Well, in specific order, I'm sat just upstairs at the endurance store, which is of course, my HQ. I'm looking out the window. It is it's forecast about 21, 22 degrees by the time we get to this afternoon, and it is blue sky and sunshine. So it's an absolutely cracking day here. I haven't been for a run. I'm injured, so I can't run at the moment. But I did do an easy hour on the bike this morning, and I'm very much looking forward to going open water swimming. I'm just aware we're probably not going to get too many more evenings like this this year. So Wednesday night is our open water swimming night. So we're going to take the kids down to the lake and have a good swim tonight. And yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be warm.
Was it outdoor bike, indoor bike? Where are you at with you?
Normally, I hate indoor biking, but this morning it was indoor biking because the kids are off school.
Yeah.
They're still on summer holidays. It's just easier to kind of jump on Zwift for an hour.
And you can just throw stuff at them. They come in, they can be like, I'm hungry, I need this. Yeah. You just keep, or I just ramp up the old AirPods, can't hear them. So I'm just like, yeah, 1 minute. And then I'm like another hour. They come in.
It was pretty much like, the Elsa, the youngest one, just kept coming in with her iPad saying, can I have this app? Can I have this app? And by then, I just switched off all parental controls and just like, fill your boots. You know what I mean? Fill your boots.
Fine, come in and go.
Leave me alone.
Fine, come in and go. Is it a session? Because they know if it's a session, I'll say yes to anything because I'm going, oh my God, get out of the way. I can't lose German Dirk from wherever. And if it's recovery, they know I'm just going to be going, I'm going to start shouting, get in the shower, start your breakfast.
I've deleted the password from Amazon so the kids can just watch anything. It was, oh my goodness, it's dangerous. But yeah, my goodness, every time I had to authorize anything, it was driving me crazy. So.
Yeah.
What about your window? Have you got a window up in the upstairs office?
Yeah. I've got little windows just looking out. Just look, it's quite a nice evening where we are. It's quite rural location and the sun's shining, I say. So yeah, looking forward to getting out and having a bit of a swim this afternoon and making the most of the sunny weather while it lasts.
Are you still into the Ironman discipline?
I was always a runner originally, like a foul runner, and then and I ran marathons as well, did road stuff, and I did a lot of the stuff that was ultras originally. Going back 20, 30 years, but some of those ultras still happening now. But then I enjoy cycling, and to be honest, I don't class myself as a triathlete. I swam with a swimming club and I still swim with a group of masters swimmers. And so I consider myself a swimmer and an open water swimmer. Yeah, and I rode with a cycling club as well. So I consider myself a swimmer and I still like going out with a Sunday run with a club on the bike and stuff. And I run with a running club. So I do triathlons, but I kind of consider myself a runner and a cyclist and a swimmer. And there's a difference.
There is a big difference. We can't say anything, people will get offended. Gary, I'm going to go off piste with a question. Okay. You mentioned that you're above a shop, of which I know well, but many people might not know well. Can you just tell us a little bit about the shop that you run? What's the sort of stuff that you sell? Can people online order? What's the deal?
Yeah, they certainly can, yeah. We've got so the endurance store we founded about 10 years ago, and it was we've actually just opened a bike shop just down the road as well called Croston Cycles. But where we are in Wrightington in Lancashire, the endurance store is primarily a running shop, but we do quite a lot of water swimming stuff as well. So yes, we get a wide range of customers in and do a lot of local community stuff as well, organise a lot of local events and things like that. So yeah, that's where I am at the moment. I am at the Endurance HQ in Wrightington.
How and people can online. Have you got an online webpage too?
Yes, www.theendurancestore.com. Yes.
All runners need trainers, everything, kit,
everything. Try on. Just come in and tell us how much mileage you've done. All that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's. It's more like helping the community, to be honest, for runners than a running shop.
I'm big on that. I love that. And I bet that you can give really good advice. You're not, if people come in looking for trainers and kit and stuff, you really make sure that what they're actually looking for, they get, which is...
We're kind of, I know they say, by runners, for runners is a very often used phrase, isn't it? So, yeah, but we're definitely all runners. We all take, competing events and stuff like that. So we know it inside and out.
Right. Sorry. Just wanted a bit of deets on that.
No,
let's get back to the purpose. Well, it's all tied in, really, isn't it? All of this, not just
Lakeland 50, Lakeland 100. I've done the 100 twice, and I'm just really, really curious because it's a fascinating route and it encompasses a huge area. How did you design the route? And I don't think, from my knowledge, I think apart from where there's some flood damage as you come from the Blencathra Centre. I don't think it's changed apart from a couple of years with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, the route stayed the same apart from, like you say, when they had the old railway line, the bridges came down, didn't they, during the floods? So the Keswick railway line bridges came down. And there's a couple of other little bits and bobs we've had. We get little things like, for example, you will get footpath repairs or bridge repairs, and we have to reroute it slightly. But the original route is the same. So I know this year, for example, I don't know if you kind of experienced this, but the very first checkpoint, Seathwaite,
yes,
came out. So in the last couple of years, we've had to go left out of the checkpoint, whereas this year we went right out of the checkpoint, which is the original route, because one of the bridges had been repaired for the last couple of years, so we couldn't use it. And people were a bit confused there. So people who'd done it last year were going left, and people who'd looked at the map for this year and know the changes were going right.
Yeah.
So yeah, little things like that. But ultimately, the route's pretty much the same. Yeah.
That did throw me, actually. I remember because the year I did it, it wasn't the same as 2022. But then I looked at the open tracking, and it was really messing with my head. Yes. But yeah, luckily there was enough people around on the day to keep me right. But yeah, how did the route evolve? Did you literally just walk the route? Was it your idea or a bunch of people?
No, so at the time, how it kind of came about is I ran for a running club called the Kilirati, who were based in Great Langdale. Oh. And there was a couple of guys, Dave and Phil, who were members of the Kilirati, and they went out, and this is very, very early years when UTMB was first organised. They went out and did one of the first ones. And they knew that I organised a few events and said, oh, we should organise a race in the Lake District, which is similar to UTMB, which of course was a bit pie in the sky. We didn't anticipate it was going to be anything much bigger than a handful of local people, to be honest. And then, so Dave and Phil, they were kind of quite largely instrumental right at the start, to be honest. Phil Hodgson and Dave Makin. And Dave Makin just literally lived around the corner from me as well. So I can remember kind of, they got a Harvey map, and just basically Dave just drew a circle and went, oh, we could do that, and that. And that was, and then we measured it and went, oh, that's 105, and it's like, yeah, well, that'd be all right, 105, that's pretty much close. But even little things, I remember, like he drew it on a Harvey 1 to 40,000 map. So now the race maps are always that Harvey 1 to 40,000 race maps that you get, because we drew it on that map. So it kind of, it went straight through from its very first incarnation of drawing it up with a piece of, pencil and a paper map, to how it's printed now on that same map. And the idea was really as well to try and avoid some of the, so don't go over Helvellyn, don't go over Scarfell Pike, don't just do the big mountains, but try and link all the kind of key valleys and go to places which, there's going to be people there, but not the key tourist spots. So don't run along the main footpath to Scarfell. And yeah, that's how it came about, really. And so yeah, Dave and Phil then, Dave and Phil actually ran it in the first couple of weeks together, and they wrote what was the first road book.
Awesome.
And then it kind of went on from there. And yeah, that's how it started. I always take
the come first, and then the 50.
They both came. So in the first year, there was a 50 and 100. Yeah. Just because we knew it was a much shorter version. But so the 50 didn't start from Dalemain. The 50 started from where the Dockrey checkpoint is, and there was basically a tent in the field at Dockrey.
Cool.
So that's where the 50 started. You didn't do the lap of Dalemain. That's why I have to do the lap of Dalemain now.
Oh, okay, I get it.
But yeah, it was funny that first year. I think there was like 40, 50 people. There's Andy Mountseed, if you remember Andy Mountseed, he used to do the race every year. But he put a picture up a couple of years ago of like the first start at Coniston when it was in the Sports and Social Club. And there was like, 30 people stood in the road or something like that. So it's funny how it's kind of gone from there.
Was there a moment one year when you thought, wow, we've created something special here?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny really, because it's now, 14, 15 years on as we are. I forget with the year with COVID. I'm just trying to think back to the point at which it actually went quite big. But, when we had 300, 400 people, I thought it was huge. So I think it jumped pretty quickly from the first to the second year, like from 60 people to a couple of hundred people, and then suddenly went from a couple of hundred people to 500 people. But when it got to 500, at that point, you think, wow, that's massive, obviously. But then it just went up and up and up then, and we moved Sports and Social to the school, and just to accommodate more people. But again, even this year, it's odd because I can remember us when we moved to the school, and we were, probably going back 10 years, and we were looking at the school field and thinking, God, the school field is full. The camping field is full. And of course, now there was probably 3 times as much camping on the bottom fields as there was on the top field. The top field was full. The school field was full by 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
I remember walking down the road on Saturday evening and looking at the other fields that go down to the lake and just thinking, holy Christ, I didn't realise this many people were here.
You get that, like, I'm in charge of this fear. Like, there's a lot of people here. I hope this all goes off. Or are you like such an old hand now that you're like?
I think because we've done it so many times, there's nothing different. So there was a lot more people there this year. There seemed to be a lot more people there. Entry-wise, there actually wasn't a great deal. There was only a few more than the previous year. I think what we had this year is just a lot of friends and family turning up, more than previous years. And I think that made it appear that there were a lot more people there, and it was really busy. Yeah. So it's those kind of things, like whether it's manageable going forwards, those are the kind of things we need to look at for next year and if we make any changes. But I think there was a lot of, and I don't know why, whether it was the current climate that people were saying, come on, we'll all go to Coniston and have a weekend.
Yeah, we'll have a holiday. We'll make a holiday.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
And I think that's potentially, but that brings with it its own problems. So, when you budgeting to afford for showers and portable toilets and everything for the runners, and then suddenly 2,500 spectators turn up with those runners, who are also using the same toilets and the showers and the whole facilities, and so that's something you've got to kind of look at when you've got 2,500 people coming along and pitching up for free, So yeah, but at the same time, we've got to balance it. Is what I want. The event is always supposed to be about family and friends and community, and that's what it's supposed to be. So there's no, I certainly don't want to say you can't bring friends and family.
No,
that's absolutely not what the event is about. But we just have to look at how we can manage that going forwards a little thing, because I think this year we were absolutely at capacity with the spectators. I
think it was all Gary's fans, to be honest, Mark. Don't know whether you know, but Gary has a huge fan base. And,
honestly, I'm just sick and tired of getting the emails about it. Can you please forward this to Gary?
Yeah.
The little cards. You wouldn't believe that the cards that he gets here with the little love hearts in and some photographs, everything. We just put them straight in the bin. I don't bother forwarding them.
Burners. Oh, we got Gary's so embarrassed.
Well, I was going to ask you actually if you had any vision for how the race would evolve, but I suppose you kind of answered that really. There's no plans maybe for a Lakeland 150 or a Lakeland, like a relay event, nothing like that.
The Lakeland double.
No, I suppose you've got to be a little bit careful because, I've seen what's happened with ultra racing in the last few years, and I think you've got to a stage where people have said, we'll put on a 50, well, we'll do a 75, well, we'll do 100, well, we're going to do a 200. And you can just keep going and going and going with that nonsense, can't you? So you've got to look at, if you want an event where lots of people are going to turn up and enjoy it, I think there's probably a certain distance with a certain amount of elevation and a certain level of technicality that the masses, as long as they've prepared, can manage. And I think what you want, and again, the other thing is people saying, well, ours is harder than yours, ours is trickier, and so on. So, and I know there's different events have kind of different objectives, and they want to be the hardest, they want to be the furthest, they want to attract the elite, whatever they want, But I think with the Lakeland 50, I think why the 50 works is because I think for the bulk of people, they probably get to around the 40, 45 mile mark and they're getting to the point where they've had enough.
Yeah.
They battle the last 5 or 10 miles and they finish and go, that was a real fight to get to.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I totally agree with that. That like, it's a course which is if you're fit, it's doable, but it is still huge. Yeah, it's hugely challenging. And you're going to come away from that going, I dug to a place I've not been before.
Now, if you've got to get that balance right,
if
that happens at 30 miles or 25 miles, then they have a really negative experience.
Yeah.
And they can't suffer for 25 miles and come away at the end of it and they're glad they attended. So you've got to get the balance right where people feel they really did challenge themselves, and it hasn't been a walk in the park and it wasn't easy for them. But at the point where they started really fighting, they could see the light at the end of the tunnel. And if you can get that balance right, and I think probably with a 50, it's probably as close as you're going to get, really. And for the 100, obviously, that's a different kettle of fish. And I think for a lot of people, if people doing the 50, the danger is that they think, well, the next natural step is to do the 100. I joke about that a lot, but the reality is for 80% of people, they should never do the 100, because the 50 is their limit. And you shouldn't think just because there's 100 you're not achieving by doing the 50.
Yeah, I agree with that. It doesn't have to be the step up, does it?
No, it doesn't have to be the step up. And I think for a lot of people, the 50 should be their limit and they should come and do it. And it's challenging enough. And they don't have to go and do something which is going to be utterly miserable and break them for the next 6 months.
They have the best weekend, though. They get to see the guest speakers on the evening. They see the Lakeland one go off. It's we miss all, or the 100 runners miss all of that. I think the 50, and I saw the 50 runners drinking beer on a Friday night, and I was so jealous.
Yeah.
So, and then if you're the 50, you get to run past all the people at the 100 who are doing the 100, who are so sad, and you can walk past going, "Go on, you can do it, you can do it," and they're like, but you can as well. The 50 is so challenging that you can go back again and again and again and have a different experience every time. It will never be, it's not an easy flat course. It's, everything, you can challenge yourself on so many different variables and be like, okay, this year I'm going to push harder on the climbs, or I'm going to go out faster, or I'm going to work on my technical descending. And there's so much, you have to be a real rounded runner. And even the people that are super fast on the course probably always away going, I could take time off there, I could do that differently. It's such a learning course. It's always going to teach you a lesson.
You can say that about any 50-mile ultra. It never gets easier. You just get faster or slower, don't you?
Yeah,
that's it. If you're fitter, you'll go faster, but it'll still be hard. And if you're not fit, you'll end up 2 hours slower, but it'll still be hard. So it's, I think that's the thing. You come back and do it, but I don't think at the moment, there's that old saying kind of, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And where I get suggestions, people say, why don't you do it in reverse? Why don't you run, or why don't you do the 50 runners run in the first half and all that kind of stuff? And the thing is, logistically, that just, it just doesn't work, because from an organisation perspective, if you imagine running the first half for the 50, well, we get everybody together on the Saturday morning and then bus them to Dalemain and then they run back. But then you'd need shuttle buses running for 20 hours if you were going to run them to Dalemain.
Oh, my goodness me.
Oh, no, steps down from Tibbleflate would be a carnage. People would be like throwing themselves down there.
But do you have a finish line at Dalemain and then and then another finish line at Coniston? Just so all these kind of ideas that people come up with in logistically doesn't work. But so I think the challenge is to keep it the same, to keep the course the same and the format pretty much the same, but then still to try and make it in some way different every year. Because if it's just the same, then obviously I'm under no illusion that everything has its time course, and at some point down the line, people will fall out of love with the event and they'll go and do something else, and we'll keep organising it as long as people want to do it, and that's what happens. But I think for the time being, what we've got to try and do is, whilst the course and the structure and everything is the same year after year, do things which so that the event has a different feel every year, or a different theme, or whatever it may be. So each year they kind of get different memories to take away,
Like the light tunnel, Hoka did it. Was it at Contamine or somewhere, where they had that light tunnel and all the runners ran through it? It looked terrible. I'd have been outraged at them ruining my midnight mountain running with this flashing strobe lights.
Yeah. Big glow sticks,
Yes, the big glow sticks,
How have you seen a change, though, from an entrance point of view? From the early days, like it probably was 50, 40-year-old men on the start line, but now the demographic, and I think this year there was somebody who'd completed the 1, the 50 and the 100. So from your point of view, is there more equity on the start line, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, And we in the ballot, we do purposefully in the ballot let more women in than men. And that's not, we don't have more women taking part than men, but we have a bias towards it to try and level that out. So I think last year, if I remember right, it was 35% women and 65% men. And that was the highest we've ever had. Yeah. And you might look at that and think, oh, wow, that's still a big difference, 35 and 65. But you wouldn't believe the percentages from the previous years. We're talking only 15%. Up to 20% absolute maximum of women in the event, which is hard. When you stood there looking around, you'd think, no, surely not. There's more than 15%, 20% females here. Yeah, but actually they're not. We see the figures. So last year we had a kind of, it starts with 35% of the ballot entries are female, then at least 35% of the competitors should be female. Yeah. Last year that 35% was the highest we'd seen. And a very wide demographic. And I would say ethnicity and race and everything, we've seen a bit more of a demographic. And obviously, those percentages in those ethnic marriage groups are still very low. But we're trying to look at those kind of things in the event, just to try and make it a more rounded community. But yeah, so I'll have to see what happens there at the next couple of days.
I'm not too sure if there is an actual line when you were aware that, say, 2023, the prep starts. But yeah, is there a moment, because you've got events all year long, but is there a moment you think, right, Lakeland 100, Lakeland 50, the clock is ticking now?
Like 4 or 5 months to go, you've got to start nailing stuff down. And whether it's the theme or the logo, and all that kind of stuff, T-shirt colour, that's, you've got to look at the priorities. But there are some things which have to be done now. So straight after the event, obviously, we've now got to sort out the entries for 2023 and the ballot process. We have to sort that out now. But then obviously we then have to, after the event, there are some key things like, well, you go around and sort all the checkpoints and speak to all the checkpoint owners, village halls. Was everything okay? Were there any problems? Was everything left tidy? Make some charity donations, and then make sure all of those things. And just make sure those things are booked in as well, because unless we've got those 14 checkpoints all booked in for 2023, then it's difficult. You don't want to be opening an event and then finding out 2 months down the line that you can't actually hold that event. Oh. So there are some key things that we start booking in. Like with kind of landowners and key stakeholders. But then once those core things are booked in, then all the stuff like, we need to sort medals and we need to sort T-shirts. Well, we've got plenty of time for that. So we've got 5 or 6 months just to kind of mull things over. And then usually there's a bit of a light bulb moment and you go, that'd be good if we did this and this. And then suddenly from that, Blues Brothers or whatever it may be emerges.
That was awesome. I wasn't there that year, but I thought that was great getting the band back together.
Well, that was just fitted, perfectly with COVID, didn't it, as well? Everybody needs somebody and getting the band back together and all that kind of stuff. So that's, and I think that's what I was saying earlier about whilst the event is pretty much the same every year, it's the same course and it's the same distances and it's the same format and the same timetable. You can do these kind of things with silly themes or whatever it may be, or stories, or where the event's focused on. To make it different every year, and I think if it doesn't take a lot of searching, but if you look hard enough, there are enough stories within the event to make it different every single year, and I think that's perhaps one of the things I've consciously tried to do. I think if you organise you can organise a big event which has become successful, and you can either you can put the attention on the event, so you can organise this event, you can go look at this event, it's incredible. Or actually, because that event has become quite powerful because there's a big social media following, you can then use that event to then find the people who are doing the event who are really interesting stories, and then turn the spotlight on them. So there will be, someone who's completed the event. If you think from this year, Mike, who's had cancer, 16 years treatment, and then completes the 50. Let's get him in 100 next year. That'd be a good story. You've got Laura, who the first person who at 14 years of age does a Lakeland 1, at 19 years of age does a Lakeland 50, 20 years of age does a Lakeland 100, first ever Triple Crown. So there are all of those stories. And then, there are weird ones and there are funny ones, and there is Tony, the unmanned dibber guy, and there's a checkpoint ninja. there are enough stories. And there's enough amazing stories, inspirational stories, funny stories, weird stories. And if you go and look for them, you turn the spotlight on those people rather than putting the spotlight on the race and going, how good is this? You just turn the spotlight on them and go, how good are they? Well, those people are different every single year. And there will be new stories next year, and there'll be new stories the year after. And I think that's how I try and keep it fresh each year. Because those stories will just keep on changing, and those people will keep, different people will come with new stories. Yeah. So I'm very conscious of trying to do that,
I enjoyed the presentation actually, because even if you'd missed, say, social media, the stories on social media, you brought some of those stories to our attention. And some of them were quite emotional. It was quite
Gary.
Well, it was red hot. I remember I was feeling a bit fragile and frazzled.
Yeah,
but...
it was hot, something in your eye. It was just you had to have a moment outside.
Yeah. I definitely recommend, if anybody is doing either of the distances, definitely go to the presentation. That is a couple of hours well spent.
Yeah, but it's emotional, isn't it? I don't feel quite fortunate how the event has grown and what it's become. But at the same time, for me, it will always be about those people who are doing the event. And, like saying, Mike, who's come up in 16 years cancer diagnosis. After 16 years, he finally finds out, diagnosed at, I think, 16 years of age, he was diagnosed. And then he turns up and completes the 50 and then says, right now I'm doing the 100. And there's so many inspirational people who come and take part in the event. But that's who you should be celebrating, those people, and celebrating those people's achievements and what they've achieved over that weekend. So that's what I'll always continue to do, is try and seek those people out, and try and put the spotlight on them rather than, and I think that because that just generates that community rather than trying to spin the spotlight around and going, oh, look at the event, how great is the event? Mm-hmm. Well, actually, the truth is, how great are the people that are doing it?
It's all about the community. It's all about it. People, we're putting this out on Thursday, aren't we, Gary? And so if you're listening to this week live, you should all be listening to this weekly. A few comments. People have got a backlog of podcasts, which is disgraceful. Get on it. Oh, thank you. Just getting a cup of tea delivered.
Cup of tea.
If you're listening to this, perhaps you're an old hand at Lakeland 1500, but perhaps you're not. It's got a little bit of a different format. You can't just enter, you've got to go through. We've talked about this ballot. Mark, can you explain to us, let's pretend that Doris is listening. She doesn't know anything about this, the entry process, but she's been inspired. How does she go about entering the ballot?
So it's on the Lakeland 100 website. So if you go to the lakeland100.com and then on the website, on the top menu, there is a link to the page which says enter the event. And then you basically put yourself in the ballot. And you can enter either the 50 or the 100 ballot. To enter the 50, there's no prior experience, although you really should be an experienced runner and with some kind of mountain running experience, or certainly you've got 12 months to get that before the event. For the 100, there are strict entry criteria, and you need to read through those. And to all the people who are messaging me on Facebook saying, will this suffice? Will this suffice? The reason you're messaging me is because you've read the page and you know it won't suffice. So go back and read the page.
I'm thinking, was I one of these people a couple of years ago?
Do you, just jumping up the ballot question, do you answer every single one of those messages that you get or do you think if I leave you a little bit, you're going to answer that yourself?
Copy and paste.
I mean, I would say to people, just email us through the website rather than trying to private message. I'm not very good on Facebook and messenger stuff. I'm chronically slow at replying to people. So don't personally message me or try and friend request me because I'm just crap at it. And I'm not ignoring you, I'm just crap at it. So you're better sending me an email through the Lakeland website. But yeah, we do try and try and answer most of them. But basically, I think when people start emailing you saying, will this be okay? Will this suffice? Yeah. I think it's because they've got their own doubts, really. And the big one I would say as well, for a lot of people who've never done the Lakeland 50. So I'll get people, for example, they'll say, I don't know, I've done this 50-mile ultra and it was along the canal tow path. Can I do the 100? And I just think it's a little bit of a sign of the way the kind of endurance world is today, that no one has any patience. So if I take triathlon as an example, when I used to do triathlon when I was younger, and no one would dream of doing an Ironman triathlon until they'd done 3, 4, 5 years of racing and built up to that distance. And the same with marathon runners, they did 10Ks and then half marathons and worked their way through to a marathon. Whereas now we jump from 5K to ultra. And it's like an impatience, really. And I would say to those people, just take your time and kind of go and learn your trade a little bit. Don't jump from I wouldn't let them anyway, they wouldn't get in, but jump from a 40, 50-mile canal towpath ultra to do the Lakeland 100. Just go and do the 50. Go and do a couple of others. Go and do some of the Hardmoors events and stuff like that. Do some of the those kind of classic Highland Fling, all those kind of races. Get some ultras under your belt on mountain terrain and then build up and do the 100 rather than being impatient and then being a bit argumentative about it because you won't let them just jump straight into the 100. Yeah. And I think, I don't think that happened 15, 20 years ago, but it does now. People don't want to serve the time. So just chill out, get yourself in the 50 and then do a couple more ultras and build up to it, much more chance of getting round as well.
It's the click your fingers mentality, isn't it? I get a lot with coaching inquiries. I'm doing 100 miler in 3 months' time. Can you help me? And I'm like, oh, I can, but this is going to be so. It's like cramming for your A levels. It's cramming for your A levels in like 2 weeks. It's like, if we make it like a 3-year plan, you're going to have such more better journey. You're going to be such more rounded athlete. You're going to enjoy it. You're not going to be crying in a checkpoint going. Yeah. It hurts too bad. It's like you just knock on the pain cave, work out where the pain cave is, knock on the door, open it up first, have a little look inside. Don't just go straight in because you won't have the tools to be in there and get yourself out. So I totally agree with that. Anyway, so ballot, you press the ballot, you've entered the ballot. What's then what is this ballot?
How long do I have to wait, Mark, before I thumbs up or thumbs down?
We've got a trickier algorithm than Facebook. So
what is this? This is so technical.
The ballot is, there are some criteria in the ballot which we put in there, but the thing also with the ballot is it's random.
Okay.
So we don't know who gets in and who doesn't. It's a very random draw, but there are some criteria. So I said earlier, there is a bias in there for some things. So we said we have been trying to increase the number of female competitors, which we managed to get to 35% last year, and we'll continue to do that. There is a bias in terms of, well, so it's not really a bias, but we'll have like a percentage of people who've done it before and a percentage of people who haven't done it before. So it's very difficult because everybody that's done it before, who may have done it for multiple years, and you know them, and you want them to come back and do it again. And I sometimes feel really, really shitty rejecting them. But at the same time, you've got to let new people come into the event as well. So you need this, kind of...
And you're setting them free. If they've done it loads of times, go off and experience somewhere else and then come back.
Exactly, yeah. And that's it, yeah. But I will say that to people, go and have a break from it, come away and then come back, come and marshal for a year or whatever. But yeah, so we have to have that percentage of new people compared to percentage of people who've done it before. And then we have, of course, you've got this people going for the 500 slate. So if you've got people who've done the 100 4 times, it's hard to reject when they've got a piece of slate next year. So there's a couple of things like that. But to be honest, it's a lot harder to get in the 50 than it is to get in the 100. With the 100 last year, the number of applicants was only not significantly more than the number of places available. Most of the people who didn't get in the 100 was largely because they just didn't put down any criteria. They just put in the form, done the Lakeland 50. What year, what time did you do it in? We need a link to the results to prove it. So they just didn't put details in, and we just can't go back and email all those people and say, can you provide more information? You can't.
I need to make some notes. Can't mess this up.
So
you need to bulk out your entry, Gary. You've got to stop being part run 20.
Yeah, Sedgefield Park Run's quite hilly. Will that do, Mark?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, whatever. But so there are a few little criteria like that. But then I think if you've got 4,000 people apply for the 50 and you've only got 1,500 spots, or, I think last year we had 3,500 apply, I think, for 1,500 spots. Once you kind of say, well, 50% of them need to be people who've done it before, or 50% need to be new people, you will segregate them by, have they done it before, have they done it before? And then literally you're just splitting it in half and going, right, they're in and they're not.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's in those. And then that leads to kind of, I'll be out running on a Saturday or something with my mates, and someone will be quiet in the group and they'll say, eventually the conversation will come to the point where they'll say, I upset you or something, and I go, I know what you're talking about. And they go, why didn't you put me in the 50? So, mate, I didn't even know you were in the ballot.
Because they're thinking you've got their names written all on ping pong balls, don't they? And then you're like picking them out and you're going, oh yeah, no, I like him. He's going in. No, I don't like him.
So some people kind of get a little bit offended by it, but we genuinely, the guy that I run with every Saturday, I wouldn't know. Sometimes I don't even know if they're in the ballot and if they got picked or not. I don't know. So please, if you don't get in, don't take it personally. But being absolutely honest about this, it's quite cocky to be sat here talking about this and saying, oh yeah, if you get in, don't get in, because I don't know what's going to happen. Might not even get enough people to fill the places in the ballot. And in 1 year, that's going to happen. And I'm not, not cocky enough to think that's not going to happen, because at some point it will happen. You know, and I think we've seen entries down across all events right across the UK this year. So it'll be interesting to see where people's heads are at for next year, whether that many people want to do it or not. So, you know, it's, we could be in a situation where, you know, particularly for the 100, where we're actually not getting enough places, and then everybody who applies will get a place, presuming they've got the criteria. So time will tell, I guess, in the next 48 hours.
Have you got any more questions, Gary, about the ballot?
Well, I was curious.
What are the top tips you need?
I think I'll be okay.
All right, done it a couple of times. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
I'm going to smash that application.
That's automatic criteria.
Well, I was really curious. So, assuming you get your place, how many people actually then? Because don't underestimate the challenge. How many people take their entry but physically make it to the start line? Do you have that percent?
Well, for a start, 10% of people don't accept the place when we send them the link to enter.
10%.
Yeah. So I would say we over invite by 10% because we know 10% aren't going to take it. So we don't then have 10% of places free, because these people didn't enter. Why can't you now share these places? Yeah. So we'll over invite by 10% because we know 10% take it up. So it might get to spam. Because it's a ballot, the ballot is free. You don't have to pay. Yeah. So there's a lot of people who are just kind of like, well, I'll just stick my name in the ballot, see what happens. Don't really know if I want to do it or not. And then they get to the point where they get the link and go, there you go, you can pay. And they go, oh, I'll leave it. So anything that's free, you're always going to get a percentage of that. But the other thing, of course, to consider, and I think this is quite significant for a lot of people, is husband and wife, friends entering, going to do it together. Both put an entry in. One gets an application, one doesn't. So the person who's got the application says, well, if you're not doing it, I'm not doing it. And so you get a bit of that. And I can see that, I can fully understand that. So we over invite by 10% because 10% won't take the place. And
again, talking about don't underestimate the challenge, average completion rate for people who actually toe the line?
Average completion, 55 to, 65 is the highest we've had. So I'd say 55 to 65, depending on weather. And that's not changed over the whole year. So when we started the very first year, it was a similar percentage. So when you've gone from like 100 people to 2,000 people, that percentage just stayed the same, which is interesting, because I would say probably you would think, you could look at it both ways, couldn't you? In the very early years, it's all the originals, the hardcores, you know, those kind of people. You'd think they'd maybe have a higher percentage. Now it's mass. Maybe you think there's a few more people in there who are perhaps not up to it. Yeah. The percentage is the same. But then you could also say, no, we've done it 15 years. Are people more experienced? So should that percentage increase? I don't know, but different ways of analysing it. But the percentage has been pretty steady for 15 years.
As well as if you've got a percentage of newbies as well, you've got a mixed bag going in anyway, haven't you? You're not just choosing out of like, did you finish this year? Yes, okay, you can come in again. Have you got a percentage breakdown of women that start and women that finish compared to men that start and men to finish?
No, but I wanted to do that this year. That reminded me to go and do that. You have reminded me to do that for me.
Yeah. Because I was appalled by the UTMB starting statistics and finishing rate, of which only 217 women were on the start line compared to 1,800 men. They need to take some of your ballot algorithms there.
I thought they did. I thought they announced last year they were doing that.
Oh, rubbish. No way. Never heard that.
Well, anecdotally, the photographs didn't look great, though. That starting corral was a lot of white men.
Oh, middle-aged white men. How many middle-aged white men? But then the dropout rate was huge. I think it was over 1,000 people didn't finish UTMB this year. Massive. Right. Yeah, really big. So I'm interested in some of the stats, and I'm quite interested. I don't know. I haven't got the UTMB of how many women started compared to how many women finished compared to men. I'm quite interested in that, because I feel like if us women are beating the drum that we want to be on the start lines, I think we should also beat the drum that we're going to finish.
Make an effort to finish.
That's a terrible thing to say, isn't it? But I'm like, if I keep going, I want a place. I also then have to go, I better finish this.
Better finish.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Are you planning on the winter virtual race again this year?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've not thought much about the virtual at Christmas, but it seemed to go well. The things with the virtual worked really well when we were in lockdown. I thought that I wasn't sure if many people had entered the virtual event. I thought this was going to be a dead duck, this, and we had 2,500 people enter it.
Yeah.
That was one of the best, for me personally, that was the best experience of lockdown, was running the virtual and doing Foxcast with Uncle Terry every night and stuff. And it was just a fantastic atmosphere. And loads of people, I think, who were really, really struggling during that time were messaging us and saying, like, I'm having a bad time and this has really lifted me. But then after that, when we came out of lockdown, I kind of thought, it's probably not going to happen now, but we had, I think we had like 800 people into the virtual this summer, just coming up to the 100, we had about 800 to that. And that's like a massive fundraiser, so we made £14,000 out of those 800 entries.
Awesome.
You remember, we gave it to Baby Basics, who basically supply families who don't have any income, to be honest, very low income, who've got young children and can't afford the basics for the babies. We gave the £14,000 to them. So I'm quite happy to do the virtual at Christmas, and I really enjoyed doing the Christmas virtual. I just see how popular it is, and if people really want to do it, and if it's continued to be popular, then by all means, I'll happy to do it, and we'll donate it to another charity and stuff, because it's just a nice thing to do around Christmas time. And it worked well last year, because I think we did quite a lot of food banks and stuff like that around the Christmas time. So it worked really well. Just got to come up with another bizarre Christmas story like we have for the last couple of years.
I don't think you're short of imagination there, Mark. I'm sure there'll be something totally bizarre. And
that's how it starts. Phoning Terry, listen, Terry, I've got a good one, right? There's a fox and a reindeer, and they have to save Christmas. Usually at that point,
I love it. I really enjoyed. I did the first virtual during lockdown. And wow,
you broke yourself, Gary.
It nearly broke me, because I just kept putting it off, and then like this massive weekend to try and get my 105 miles. It was really tough.
I thought it was great. I think it really kind of captured that everyone was feeling really, really bad in that first lockdown. I just think a bit, or maybe I think a lot of people were struggling, and it was hard. I mean, I was getting messages from people where, like, genuinely, and I can't never name names, and I was getting emails from people, kind of some of the stuff I'm looking at thinking, Christ, should I be forwarding this to someone, because I'm not qualified to be answering these questions, So it really, really impacted a lot of people, and I think the virtual gave a lot of people a lift, and the Facebook page was bouncing. There's a lot of positivity on the Facebook page, people sharing photographs and everything. And I just think, when we first put it on, I was a bit kind of, this probably isn't going to work. No one's going to be interested. And then obviously I was so glad we did, because it just had the reaction that it had, So yeah, and I think with the Lakeland 50 and 100, even now doing the virtual in July, it works really well, because I think there's a lot of people who realistically will never be able to complete the 50. That will always be too much for them, but they can still feel like they're part of the event by doing the virtual. Feel part of that community. So I think it works. It works really well. Like I say, it's a bonus. It just gives a big chunk to charity as well.
Oh, it's such a positive thing. And like you said, the money to charity is amazing.
Right, we've warmed him up. He's ready now. He's loosened up, Mark. He's a bit touchy, a bit grumpy at the start of the podcast. But
it took ages, didn't it, to get going, that one?
Ages to get going. He's not chatty at all, is he? Tough gig, this one. Tough gig. Let's finish it off with some really deep meaning.
A quick 5 questions. This is quite a tough one, actually, I suppose, for you. But do you have a favourite part of the Lakeland or 50 or 100 route?
I think from a spectator's perspective, seeing the torches going over Blacksail and Scarf Gap on the first night of the 100, dropping down to Buttermere. When you get it in daylight, that dropping down to Buttermere is amazing, isn't it? But those nighttime shots of the torches going from Wasdale through to Buttermere, I think for me,
magic.
Probably that, just epic photography and just, I love that.
Oh, right. Eddie's giggling. There's a reason why I'm asking this question. Most memorable bonk. And but basically we had the guys from Super Sapien all about the glucose monitoring. So have you got a story where it's quite a spectacular bonk?
Are we counting hallucinations as bonks?
Oh yeah, anything juicy.
I mean, I've had quite a few of those, obviously, where people are really, really struggling. I'm gonna elaborate slightly on this. And I remember a guy from Delamere Spartans called Steve Me. And in terms of bonking, I think I'm gonna broaden that to people who are just exhausted and probably shouldn't have reached the finish but did. And I remember
those are my favourite. Those are my favourite.
Yeah, Steve Mee was struggling from Dale, Maine, to be honest. And I just always remember something. I remember, I'm going back probably 10 years now, 8-10 years. But I just remember this line because he'd said, and I specifically remember, I remember all of these random things. He'd specifically remember, he'd said to his wife before he started, because he'd taken so long to train for the event and so much time it had taken that year to train for the event. And he was saying, time at work, he could have spent with his wife and with the kids and something. And he made a promise to his wife. And he said, unless someone puts their hand on my shoulder and tells me that I have to stop, I will not stop. And I remember that line really specifically. Unless someone puts their hand on my shoulder and tells me I have to stop, I will not stop. And I can remember him coming down to the laugh from Tilberthwaite over to Coniston. His feet were swollen. He looked like something. Do you remember the goodies years ago? Like his massive feet were swollen. And on the descent down to Tilberthwaite, he lost his vision and someone had to help him down. That's how bad it was. And I always remember people who probably shouldn't have made it to the finish but did. And I always remember him saying that was a line. I always remember him saying to his wife, unless someone puts a hand on my shoulder and says, you are not stopped, you are not continuing, I will continue. I've never seen anybody since who's been as true to that word as him.
Kudos to the Tilberthwaite checkpoint. They didn't do that, and he must have come in a terrible state. They got him out.
Yeah, Steve Mee, Vladimir Barnes, shout out to him.
Okay, you've got one song on your iTunes, Spotify, whatever it is. Sorry, one band. Is it going to be Roxy Music, Duran Duran, or Spandau Ballet?
Roxy Music, Duran Duran, or Spandau Ballet? I'm going to go Spandau Ballet, I think.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah.
Well, I might have gone Duran Duran.
All classics. What time of year do the crazy kit questions start coming in?
It's a pretty regular occurrence. In terms of the time of year, I don't think it stops. But they tend to, and it depends, it goes into two categories, isn't it? Which is the genuine crazy kit questions and the taking the mick crazy kit questions. And sometimes if they're very clever, they're taking the mick crazy kit questions, they camouflage themselves really well, where I don't know if they're taking the mick or not. So yeah, but I think for new members coming onto the page as well, sometimes they probably find it a bit abrupt and maybe they feel that it's not very welcoming, this page.
Yeah.
I don't think they've seen the years and years and years of the same questions. So if someone goes on and says, quick question for you, why can we not have collapsible cups? And they ask that question and then it's, oh, for God's sake, wow. We go again. And they haven't seen the previous 10 years of it. So then they're
like, everyone's really unfriendly. This was lovely. Doris is put off for life.
Yeah. This isn't very friendly and welcoming, but I don't think we go, you haven't seen the previous 10 years. So it is friendly and welcoming, but yeah. So I think that's part of the event, isn't it? You need to have a bit of a sense of humour and you need to expect if you ask a question on Facebook, nobody's safe. It's going to get.
Frankly, if you ask a question on Facebook, whatever. Honestly, you're asking.
That is dangerous. I ask Google before I ask Facebook. That's my motto in life. First drink of the day: coffee, tea, juice, or water.
Coffee. I mean,
it's always got to be coffee.
I've got 3 cups. Look, in this, I've had 2 cups and I've got another one lined up. It's bad.
I'm glad I couldn't take that, Eddie.
Yeah, you need to be more. You're just not. You've got to train for that sort of thing. You can't just enter that sort of thing, Gary. This is hardcore training. This is years of endurance. Mark, thank you so much for giving up your precious time, especially when you're planning the ballot algorithms.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We are going to put that out now as soon as Gary can enter it, so that if people are, as soon as Gary can edit it, so if people are on the fence, might put them off, which might be good.
Yeah, don't all jump on the Lakeland 100, please. I need I need to get through that.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Good luck with the rehab. We hope to see you back on some start lines.
Yeah, best of luck.
other people's races in the next.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks, Mark.
No worries.
Gary's written, I knew he'd be good.
Yeah, normally we have a little outro to how great the guest was, but yeah, hopefully Mark was great and inspiring. And once you all want to kind of enter the ballot for the Lakeland 50 or Lakeland 100, or what, Mike?
But not too many. What are we doing, Gary? We're advertising something that you need to get a place for. Second, is this why we're getting him on the show? Because you're going to go, Gary's like, just give me a place, Mark. Give me a place.
Oh, well, imagine that if I didn't make the other ballot. The ballot for the 100 runners is quite a safe bet. But yeah, if I didn't get in, he's been on the show. That's like mega awkward.
Just give me an email pinging his way. You don't get in. Hi, it's Gary. I love the 100. Give me a place and I'll live blog it.
Oh, I nearly fell off Gordon Ramsay. Nice.
Who is Gordon Ramsay? Why do you keep talking about him?
Well, my camera's positioned in a funny position that I need an extra 2 inches, and I've got a Gordon Ramsay.
Don't we all, Gary? Don't we all?
Yeah, I've given up saying 5'6.5" now. I'll get too much stick for that, so I'm officially 5'6". So yeah, Gordon's helping.
I'm telling you. Oh my gosh, you're gonna struggle to hold me up at the end of the spine, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm not the strongest of guys. Oh wow, yeah, I did my strength and conditioning today, and that hurt. Because there's 2 weeks of downtime.
Yeah.
And then I've had 5 weeks of doing nothing.
You've got to go back into that strength and conditioning, imagining you're coming back from like a serious operation and be really gentle and really
luckily there's no vanity attached to it. It's all just kind of keeping me strong for the event.
But I think I've got to the gym once in the whole of the summer holidays. It's just too much time.
Oh, you're paying the old direct debit as well, Eddie.
Just don't mention it. Honestly, the rage of that. It's not super expensive, and don't worry, I'm going to get it back as soon as they're back at school. I'll be back in there. Right, what we got coming up? Yeah,
DR40 on Saturday, and the last time I checked, we're going to try and get the show out Thursday actually. So with the kind of whole Lakeland 50, Lakeland 100 ballot. But last time I checked on SI entries, there are entries available for this race, and it's run over less technical terrain than the first 2 races in the series. Still 3,000 feet of ascent. This is still a challenging event covering a marked longer distance requiring strategy, consistency and stamina. Okay, so the course features good hard-packed trail, Roman road and less technical descending, but one steady climb of almost 12k.
Where is this? What do we even...
I think it's going to be around the Swaledale area, I think.
Oh, we love that area. We've also got Ring of Fire, 3-day, multi-day around Anglesey, starting on Friday. It's a really cool multi-day. If you're looking for a multi-day, think about it maybe for next year. Tough mix of terrain, some really nice running, some sort of like beach running, some sort of rocks, self-navigating, but you get
I don't like beach running. You lost me.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Bryn did it about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because Tarka was a puppy and I ran around supporting him, and he was I got to the finish about 2 hours before he did, and they played Ring of Fire for every single person that finished the song, and I heard it so many times.
I wonder if the Johnny Cash estate knows about this.
We could ask that. Anyway, good luck if you're doing that. Good luck if you're doing any races this weekend. I'll be wanting some live feed. Do you know what my kids did? Because we've literally had the live feed on for the UTMB for days. The kids then got my old computer and my phone, and they took the phone off and they made like this bike and run course outside, and then they were live feeding themselves back to my computer so that I could watch them. And then they did like finish line interviews as well in French and English. It wasn't. I was like, UTMB, God, this is hilarious.
That is amazing.
But they did keep going, Mum, are you watching? Mum, are you watching? Are you watching? It's like, oh, they didn't do that on the UTMB live feed. Tom wasn't checking up watching
on Thursday, Eddie.
On Thursday when I just stopped whining. I do love them, and I whine and I want them to go to school, and then the minute they do and the house is all quiet, I'm going to be like in their bedrooms, their pajamas.
Nursing the pillows.
We should add Lakeland 50 and 100 ballot opens. If you're interested, you have to set up a results based account now to make the ballot application process.
Yes, get the admin done.
It's a bit like doing the fine as well. You've got to have an account. So do that now, because you don't have an account, you won't get it in the ballot, basically, will you?
Well, you got 48 hours, I think. So yeah, you do have.
Oh, do you? Okay, because it's not like with the spine, you literally enter, got the place, gone.
Yeah, I like the ballot because, you know, some people's work or life commitments, they can't always be on a computer at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. So
you
the
are
ballots.
so lovely, Gary. This is where we differ so much. What else you got coming on apart from just the ballot?
Yeah, well, I'll be doing the ballot, more vlogging. So yeah, but yeah, we're keeping everything crossed for the ballot. Well, fingers crossed. We had Andy Norman. Hopefully, my ultras show.
Well, he's been in Germany all week. He probably hasn't even popped to the post office. You're not important. He's got his crust off the podcast, and you're never going to see those trainers.
Well, these brands, was it Andy Stevenson today? I messaged Andy. And he's bought some Lecky poles and a running belt.
Do you reckon how many pairs of Lecky poles have we got? Honestly, Gary, we need to be on, what's it called? I was going to say subscription, but that's what they get their football magazines from.
I'm sure I know of at least 10 people who've mentioned it. So that's just who I've kind of bumped into.
If they just gave us like £1 each, that would be a tenner, and I could get a nice coffee with that. That's all I want in life. It's just all these people. I love that people bought into that Lecky pod because polls will make somebody. It's Katie Scheid who said in her interview, her first UTMB, she didn't use polls. Oh my life! We were only joking about that. We love bringing knowledge to people from other people, not from ourselves.
The feedback is Andy who used his, and it was positive feedback. He really liked it, and having this pole belt again was just really helpful for his admin. So yeah, it's good when it's positive. But yeah, I was really curious. I've never run in. I think my Innovate's one of those. Ultra don't call it zero drop anymore, do it? Was it neutral? I can't remember what Andy was saying. So I'm not completely new to a zero drop shoe, but that wider foot toe box, I'm really looking forward to what that
you're going to enjoy like. That. I can't see how you wouldn't enjoy that. And also, I kind of think like on technical terrain, I actually like a wider base of support than a narrow, mainly as well because our races we're not trying to race fast. We're trying to race safe on an ultra. You know, we're not Zirsinal. We could be, Gary, if we wanted to be, but, we choose to run a little slower.
What else have I got? Hope Ray's just messaged me. We're going to do parkrun on Saturday, so that'd be nice. And that fits well because my threshold run is 15 minutes threshold, so parkrun 20 minutes.
Perfect. You smash out 15-minute parkrun, done. If you've not finished.
But then I've also got 5 times 5 minutes, and if I'm feeling up for it, a fartlek too. So that's 3 quality sessions of
plus
first
a long
week
run.
back. Plus a long run, but the long run won't be.
Tokens, Gary. It's 4 tokens.
And the token. Well, I think when it comes to a point where maybe I'm doing 2 big runs at the weekend, then I definitely won't be doing 3 quality sessions and a long run. So
they're very short, 15 minutes tempo. It's hardly worth it.
Yeah, 2. But this is week 1, so 3 quality sessions a week 1.
I'm not judging. It's all right. You're all right. You're doing jolly well.
And I am going to actually go to the doctors and try and get in the system for my knee.
Oh my life.
Well,
I come out and see my chiropractor because he can move your kneecap in a terrible way possible.
It's really annoying though. I'm going to have a little rant here. I tried to book up the doctors. I'm not too sure what's like, if this is a reflection of my surgery or the whole country. I tried to book up an appointment to see the doctor, and I just, like olden days, you'd phone up and you go, there's an appointment next Wednesday. Great, I'll take that. Can't do that anymore. I have to phone up on the day that I want to see the doctor. And then they basically just tell me that whatever slots are available that day, if any, which for me is inconvenient and annoying. But for somebody else who has, like, I don't know, maybe they're elderly, they maybe got dementia or something like that, and it's a massive bit of friction for some people.
And were you in a queue on the phone for ages trying to
this was really pissed me off. The last the last option on the about 50 options that I could have pressed on the way into getting to speak to somebody was, do you want to actually see a doctor? And I'm kind of thinking that should be the first thing I want to press. And again, it was just friction. And now I've got a call
By
tomorrow.
the time you get to them, you've got the rage a bit, and then you get the receptionists who are the ragiest people around anyway. I had the same. My mum won't mind me saying this, that when I went down and she wasn't very well and we were trying to get hold of the doctor, and she waited for 40 minutes in the queue. And then when she got through to the receptionist, she cut her off.
Oh,
She'd wait again. And then she said, there's no appointments. And my mum was like, it's an emergency. I need to see the doctor today. She's like, there's no appointments. She's like, what do I do? And mum was like, if I was an really old person, and I mean, mum's she's not 20.
Yeah.
Or someone with dementia, that would be the end. You wouldn't go and see a doctor.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So anyway, feel for anybody that's trying to do that. I feel for you.
My only reason I think they have to, because I know there's a huge issue with people not turning up to appointments, like millions across the country.
Oh, really?
And that's the only justification I can maybe think for having to do a day appointment on the same day you call, because then you surely can't forget.
It depends how many doctors they have as well.
Yeah. So apologies, anyone in there who works in GP service.
Oh my God, can you imagine how terrible it must be if you are a GP or a GP? Like, the stress of it must be enormous, where you are overworked, underpaid, dealing with very anxious, stressed people.
Yeah. I just think it's, for people who are vulnerable in our society, hopefully they don't have the same friction I've had to get an appointment, which I haven't actually got an appointment yet. So I've still got to do it. So yeah, sorry about that. Little rant.
Anyway, but I'm glad you're going to start getting the ball rolling with the old knee, because it's obviously an ongoing thing that just needs a little bit of TLC.
I might vlog it. It's got like a little lump on it. So I might put that on my vlog.
I showed my chiropractor a bit of lump on my knee. He was like, yeah, that's where all the fluid is sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same. We need to ice it. You need to come to the ice waterfalls. Come to the ice waterfalls with the kids. We'll have a cup of tea, and then I'll get you down to the Aussie chiropractor, get it fixed in no time. And I literally needed a bit of wood to bite on, because I was like, this feels like this is worse than labour pains, what you're doing to my kneecap. Heaven knows how it's going to feel tomorrow.
It's been a while since we've had a competition, Eddie, so I thought we'd try good old-fashioned photograph, and everybody loves shoes. And I'm really curious what our listeners' favourite shoes are. So yeah, if you could send us a picture of current shoes, it could be muddy, in the box, trails, tarmac, I don't mind. But it doesn't have to be, say for me, my favourite I actually got them out, so I didn't forget the name, are the Scott Super Track RC2, but I didn't run the Lakeland 100 in those. So horse for courses with shoes, but what if you literally had to throw them all out apart from one pair, what shoe would it be in a picture? And it'd be really interesting.
I won't say any more, but I promise I'll post a picture of some new shoes that I just bought, because I'm an absolute UTMB sucker. I'm not going to tell you. I bet you're going to be able to guess. But I just want to try them. And so I was like, don't tell Brett.
But what would be interesting from a data point of view, literally, we get a bit of information here. What people are running. Is it like Innovate, the popular brand, or Hoka?
Yeah, what is it, guys? And as you said, but there is a trainer choice. We have the all comfy run, all bit of sore legs, I'm going to wear this, all grippy needed. There is one. But yeah, like Gary said, post a picture of your favourite trainer. Why? Why is it your favourite? What do you like to wear it for? Competition. Let's run the competition for a couple of weeks, because always people listen to this at various times. And so the competition will close Tuesday. Oh my gosh, Gary, Tuesday the 13th of September. Where is this year going to? You can win a box mixed box of delicious Chia Charge bars, and possibly even a run to the hills buff.
We'll see what we can do. Thanks for listening, everybody. 5-star to you if you made it to the end. And thanks to Chia Charge too. They keep guests, competition winners, and Eddie and I fueled in our adventures, and are all-round super supporters to everyone out on the trails. They've also shared a generous discount code over on Patreon too. So thanks for that. Big shout out to all our Patreon members. It's a massive help, and your support keeps the lights and mics on. If this is your first time you've listened to the show, and fingers crossed you've done enough, so you'll come back next week. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Last but not least, thank you, Eddie. As always, it's a pleasure sharing the mics. My name is Gary Thwaite.
That was so much. I love it. Gary's so proud of his script. I'm Eddie Sutton.
Let's run to the I didn't do too bad.
You did, bro.
Yeah.